everybody. If you get easily scared, if you do not find this type of video relaxing, please click off this video and watch another video. I have other videos, other creators have other videos, so please, if you do not find this relaxing or you think that this will trigger you, please do not watch this video. With that being said, if you do enjoy the combination of ASMR and scary stories like I do, this video will be perfect for you. I'm just going to be reading some scary Reddit stories. So, this is from the subreddit No Sleep. This was sent in by mannen_lysat, and the title is A Package Marked Return to Sender. So it starts off. My neighbor is one of those annoying wannabe YouTube personalities. Over the years, I've seen him quaff out cinnamon, lay flat on the hood of his car as it slowly creeps down the driveway, and douse himself in lukewarm water, all while screaming, "Epic win, epic fail," or "fuck, epic maintenance of the status quo." Okay. For all I know, it can get tiring to watch him go on about his shenanigans in the pursuit of viral fame. So, when he knocked on my door the other day, told me he was going away for a few weeks, and asked that I get his mail, honestly, it was a relief. I can't explain the peace of mind I had, knowing I didn't have to brace myself for any of his stupidity for a while. I was always afraid his stunts would wind up bleeding over into my life. Things were pretty normal for the first couple of days. He received a few bills, a bit of spam, and what I could only assume was a birthday card. Then one evening, I got home to find a cardboard box waiting on his front porch. In big red letters was written, "Return to Sender." I'm no small fry, but I admit I had trouble lifting the box on my own. It was really freaking heavy. Lugging it across the road to my house was even harder, and I quickly realized there was no way I was going to drag it up the stairs and through my front door. I decided I'd leave this package in my garage. It wasn't like I kept my car in there. The garage door was a piece of shit that refused to open without a good thug and a whack. It was less trouble just leaving the car in the driveway than it was to fight with the garage door every morning and every night. In hindsight, I should have set the package down while I struggled to open the tricky door. But, but you know how it is when you got a good grip on something. No point in setting it down if you don't have to. It was as I kicked the door for the third time that I lost my grip on the package and it fell to the ground. I heard a light crack inside. Shit, I cursed. I hoped I hadn't broken anything important, but I figured I just wouldn't tell my neighbor about it and let him assume the break happened in room. Hands-free, I finally managed to get the garage door unstuck, and boy, did it screech in protest as it rolled up and over me. I dragged the box the rest of the way, setting it in the corner for whenever my neighbor would come back to claim it. And then I forgot all about it until a few days passed, that is. I'm not sure exactly how long it took for the smell to waft in from the crack under the garage to house door, but it came in slow progression. It was sickly, sweet odor similar to a skunk. And for the first few days after I smelled it, I genuinely assumed that's what it was, roadkill, that had left its mark on my house. It was only when I realized the scent was growing more intense instead of fading that I went looking for a source. That's when I opened my garage door, and that's when the odor knocked me back, holding my nose. The culprit wasn't hard to identify. The only change in my garage was the box in the corner. remember thinking it must have been one of those meat of the month subscription boxes. The meat must have gone rancid from being left out of the fridge for so long. How much meat could have been in there for the box to have been so large and heavy? An entire freaking cow. I covered my nose as I approached the box, a pair of scissors in my hand. I probably wouldn't have needed them to open it, as it had become soggy enough at the bottom to poke through with the finger. But I wasn't about to poke my finger into spoiled meat juices. That soggy bottom was the reason I had to open the box in the first place. If I tried to drag it out whole, everything would spill onto the floor. I was going to have to dump the pieces of meat, one garbage bag at the time, and take them down to the dumpster, a process I was not looking forward to. My scissors tore through the tape along the top of the cardboard box. I thought the smell couldn't get any worse. But as I flipped the flaps open, I discovered a whole new gamut of skunk. It was like opening a burning oven, but instead of a heat wave, I was met with waves of piss, sweat, shit, and putrefaction. It was so bad that I staggered back and had to force down the puke, beginning to guzzle out of me. I don't think I could have handled that scent mingling with the horrors coming out of the box. I'm not ashamed to admit that I ran out the door for a breath of fresh air. But in the short time I'd spent in the garage, the smell had become so ingrained in the fabric of my clothes that it clung to me like a shadow. Nothing I tried could keep the smell out of my nostrils. Not air fresheners, not a face mask, not 3 showers, and a change of clothes. Every second that box lay open in my garage was another second the smell allowed a foothold into my home. I had to bite the bullet. I returned to the garage, the flaps of the box still open. Oh my God. Still open, as though inviting me to look inside. Guys, oh my God. I was prepared. A clothespin, pinning my nostrils shut. A garbage bag in one hand, the strongest cleaner I could find in the other, and long rubber gloves to keep my skin from having to touch what was inside. But as it turned out, oh my gosh. I needed none of those things. I wouldn't have to touch or clean the contents of the box. I would only have to suffer the nightmares every night, you see. There was meat in that box. It didn't come from a cow or a pig. No, it was worse than that. It was my neighbor, dead, still in one piece, but dead. Oh my God. Okay, continuing. I called the cops, and naturally they took me in for interrogation. It's kind of hard not to suspect the man with the corpse in his garage after all. Thankfully, they soon realized I wasn't involved. My DNA might have been all over that box. The smell might have left a mark throughout my house, but there was one piece of irrefutable evidence in my neighbor's own hands that proved my innocence of locking camera. They showed me the footage only once. I'm not sure if they were allowed to, or if they felt so bad for me they figured it couldn't hurt. Either way, I saw it. My neighbor was sitting in the box outside of a facility, laughing as he told the world how he was going to mail himself across state lines. He had brought pee bottles, food, a pillow, a few flashlights. Oh my God. His friend, a guy I'd seen at his place several times to help with his stunts, closed the lid and presumably dropped him off for shipment. Throughout the next couple of hours or days, I'm honestly not sure, my neighbor recorded a few clips about his progress. I think I'm in a truck now. I can feel it moving. Must be in a warehouse. Pretty warm in here. Still got plenty of food. That kind of stuff. And then on the last entry, the box toppled over. Oh my God. He broke his neck. Oh my God. his entry, the box toppled over. He broke his neck, and that was it. The camera recorded until either the memory card got too full or the battery died. There's one thing I didn't tell the police after they showed me the video. One thing I heard in the footage that will haunt me to the day I die. Just after the tumble that broke his neck, I heard the familiar screeching sound of my garage door. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have no words. What? Wait, that's actually, so he basically killed his neighbor. Oh my God. So, the second one of our scary stories for tonight was sent in by Christopher_Maxim. And the title of this is, If you're ever at the Coffinwood Hotel, do not stay in room 371. Business trips are dreadfully boring, especially in my line of work. The only good thing about them, hotels, the tedium of day-to-day dealings, bookended with clean towels and a mint on my pillow. If I could live in one, I surely would. There's just something in the ambience that can soothe my soul, for lack of a better phrase. At least, that's how I felt until staying at the Coffinwood Inn. It seemed like any other hotel at first, typical floor plan, decorative arrangements. Excuse me. It wasn't until I received my key card and ventured up to room 371 that I would notice a dissonance in the layout. Something amiss that broke up the usual hotel landscape. In my room, placed deliberately on the bed, was a sheet of paper. Restrictions printed on the official Coffinwood Inn stationery. Room 371 guidelines. No television after 9 p.m. Only accepting incoming calls on the room phone. Leaving your room between the hours of 10:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. is strictly forbidden. At least 2 to an elevator at a time. Never go in alone. No visitors. If there's a knock at the door, just ignore it. The minibar is for emergencies only. The view is a lie. Don't trust it. Enjoy your stay. This was odd. I'd never seen anything like it. Not once. In any of the hotels I'd stayed in the past. Perplexed, I called the front desk for answers. All rules are to be followed during your stay. The clerk stated this plainly as if he had uttered it 1,000 times before. I don't understand what emergency would warrant us use of the minibar. Why can't I watch TV after 9? What does the view is a lie even mean? I was offered the same reply, spoken with the same tone as before, not unlike a recording. All rules are to be followed during your stay. Click, and that was that. No answers, no explanation. Assuming it was some sort of strange hotel rumor I was unfamiliar with, I threw the list on the bedside table and forgot all about it. Until later that night. As I laid in bed watching the 10 o'clock news, something completely out of the ordinary happened. The reporter began scratching at her face, a little at first, but then a lot. Her motions became aggressive, and skin began peeling. Blood dripped from the wounds as she continued to relay her report without missing a beat. No one seemed to notice or react to her appearance. Eventually, she froze in place and stared at the camera. Then a close-up of her face, grotesque and mangled, her bloody lips spread apart and offered an ominous sentiment. Don't break the rules, Jack. I jumped out of bed, left my room, and ran downstairs. My voice echoed through the lobby as I barged over to the front desk. What the hell is going on here? The receptionist didn't so much as blink at my intrusion. What can I help you with, sir? I just watched a news reporter tear her own face and tell me, me personally to follow your bizarre hotel rules. Is this some kind of sick joke? He pointed at the wall clock behind him. It's 10:18, sir. In room 371, there's no television past. I grabbed him by the collar. I don't appreciate being toyed with. Continue this jest, and there will be a call made to the authorities. Mark my words. I let go of him and stormed off, his monotone voice trailing off in the distance. All rules are to be followed during your stay. I returned to my room, shut the TV off, and laid down to sleep, pissed off, but exhausted. Unfortunately for me, my slumber would be short-lived. I awoke later that night in a fit of sleep paralysis, pinned in place by my own body. At the foot of the bed was a shadowy figure whose features I couldn't quite make out in the darkness. A warmth overtook the room as it stepped over to my side. My heart began to race. Closer now, I could see it was a man, maybe in his 50s. Well-dressed, gray mustache. He leaned over me and spoke with a disturbingly unnatural timbre. His voice echoed off the walls and met my ear with an inhumane cadence. It's a pleasure to meet you, Jack. Are you enjoying your stay so far? I tried to break free of my chemical restraints, but it was no use. Where are my manners? I'm Gary Coven, the owner of this hotel. I like to greet my guests whenever I can. He rested his hand on my arm. There was a stinging sensation where his skin met mine, but I could barely wince in response to the pain. Follow the rules, Jack. If you don't, you're in for a bumpy ride. All at once, the warmth dissipated, and the sound of my cell phone buzzing rendered me fully awake. I jolted to a sitting position, reclaiming my movement. The man was gone, and my arm was fine. Thank God it was just a nightmare. Oh no. I quickly grabbed my phone and answered it. It was my boss, Coulter. Hey Jack, there's been a change in plans. Need you down in the lobby right away. What for? I asked somewhat groggingly. No time to waste, hurry up. Click. I looked at the time. It was 12:36 a.m. I was forbidden to leave my room according to the damned rules. I called the front desk. Listen here, I need to come down to the lobby and meet my boss. I don't care what your rules say, there better be no weirdness. You hear me? The sound of tapping away at a keyboard filled my ear. Sir, our records show that your boss, Coulter Brumlock, is fast asleep in his room. Confusion washed over me. In his room asleep. How would you even know that? Are you telling me there's no one in the lobby waiting for me? No, sir, it's a slow night. Just me and the fern in the corner. I hung up the phone and dialed Coulter's number. After 2 tones, he picked up. This better be good, Jack. I was sleeping. Coulter, you didn't just call me a moment ago and ask me to meet you downstairs, did you? He let out a groggy sigh. Of course not. What are you talking about? Can I go back to bed now? Another wave of confusion struck. Sure, it was probably just a wrong number or something. Sorry to wake you. Before I hung up, I asked him one last question. Say, you didn't get a weird list of rules from the hotel, did you? No. Now let me sleep. Click. He hung up, and I sat there contemplating things. Honestly, it felt as though I was hanging onto my sanity by a single, fragile thread. I had told myself the images on the TV were the hotel story, but this couldn't be faked. Coulter and I had known each other for years. I knew his raspy voice anywhere better than I knew my own. That was definitely him on the other line, but at the same time, it couldn't have been. It was by all means a mystery. The next day of work came on. Before long, Coulter and I met up back at the hotel where we dispersed to our separate rooms. What was once the highlight of any given business trip was now tainted by uncertainty. For a good long while, I sat there in my bed, still in my dress attire, pursuing the list of rules on the bedside table. I couldn't make sense of them any more than when I tell ourselves are only stretched so far. After undressing and climbing beneath the sheets for some much-needed rest, there was a knock at the door. Rule number 5 came to mind. No visitors. If there's a knock at the door, ignore it. It felt silly, but I did just as the rule demanded. Best to act with an air of caution, I thought. Better safe than sorry. The knocking, however, was soon followed by a voice, Coulter's voice. Jack, are you there? Your wife called me. She says she couldn't get through on your cell. Something happened to Leslie. My heart sank. Leslie was our daughter. I jumped out of bed, ran to the door, and opened it at once. Coulter walked in, visibly troubled. What's going on? What happened to Leslie? Coulter bore a look of deep concern. Well, it's not good news. My heart was pounding. Out with it already. What happened? This is my daughter we're talking about. He looked at me almost teary-eyed. Leslie's dead, Jack. Oh my God. All the color vanished from the room. What air I had left in my lungs in a single labored breath as a steady stream of tears swept my face. Coulter put his hand on my shoulder. There's more. Please sit down. I fell to the bed, broken. The truth is, Jack, you broke rule number 5. Now I have to hurt you. His lips stretched into a wicked grin, and his body froze. He was still as a statue. Coulter, I don't understand. In a flash, his hands lunged and connected with my neck with a viciously tight grip. He began squeezing the air out of my lungs. I tried to fight back, but his strength was overwhelming. I managed to get in a few jabs to his head, but it didn't seem to have any effect whatsoever. He forced me to the floor and continued to clench my throat until finally I lost consciousness. In that moment, I truly thought I was a goner. I woke up met the next morning alive and well. I quickly reached for my phone and noticed a text from Charlotte. Just put Leslie on the bus. She misses you terribly. So do I. Please be safe. We love you. I got out of bed and raced to the bathroom mirror. My neck was void of bruising. No signs of strangulation. I texted Charlotte. To be doubly certain, to my relief, Leslie was indeed fine. As alive as she was the day I left. It all just felt so real. Could it really have been a dream? Frazzled, I met up with Coulter and we drove to our next meeting. I could still feel his hands around my neck. I refused to make eye contact with him the entire day, and he noticed. What could I say without sounding certifiable? Hey, the hotel left me this weird list of rules to follow, and now I think I'm seeing things. Want to stop for coffee before you drop me off at the nearest hospital? No, that wouldn't bode well. Mild food poisoning from the sushi at the hotel bar was a far better excuse. Only a few more days of torment, and then I could leave. That's what I kept telling myself. Little did I know that my night there would be the longest one yet. I woke at 11:22 p.m., according to the blinking display of the alarm clock on the desk across the room. As my eyes adjusted, I noticed a faint orange light dancing on the wall, pouring in through a gap in the curtains. I pulled myself out of bed and walked over to the window to identify the source of the light. What I saw was absolutely horrifying. The hotel was ablaze, an enormous fire engulfing the ground floor. The flames grew to great heights and touched the glass in front of me before I had the nerve to turn away and make a run for it. In leaving my room, I yelled to warn the other guests. Fire, fire, there's a fire, we need to leave at once. No one joined me in the hall. There was no sound at all coming from within any of the other rooms on the floor. Had everyone already evacuated? Was I the only one inside? I opened the first door in reach. It was unlocked. Inside there was a reporter from the TV. Her face still dripping red, a blood stain on the carpet below. You should have followed the rules, Jack. I slammed the door shut and moved on. In the next room was Coulter. I watched watch him strangling a copy of me before his head turned and we locked eyes. He threw my lifeless body to the floor and started running to my position. You can't hide, Jack. I closed the door and ran to the next. This room contained yet another impossibility, the worst one yet. It was my wife and daughter standing at the door. Their eyes were vacant, drained of all human emotion. I watched, astonished, as their skin burned to a crisp before my eyes. Charlotte spoke first. We miss you terribly, Jack. Leslie chimed in after. When will you be home, Daddy? I couldn't escape them. These horrors were around every corner. In a last-ditch effort to run away from my problems, I bolted to the nearby elevator. The button was jammed, but I kept pressing it. I looked down the hall to see the reporter, Coulter, my wife, and daughter all walking towards me. Come on, work, you piece of crap, work. Finally, the button gave way and the doors opened. I hopped into the metal box and pushed the button for the first floor. The door closed just as the ragtag team of zombies closed the gap between us. I slid to the floor on the verge of a heart attack. The ride down offered no solace, no lull in the supernatural calamity that I faced. Without warning, the elevator dropped, plunging to the depths of the hotel. Far deeper than I thought possible, I gripped the railing as tight as the light wavered in and out of life. In between flickers, Garrett appeared before me. You've broken almost every rule, Jack. This is what happens. You'll destroy all of us if you're not careful. He vanished. The light leapt with him. Knowing my death was fast approaching, I closed my eyes, and I thought of Charlotte and Leslie. I could see them playing outside in the rain on the day I left. It was heartbreaking to say goodbye, and this would be no different. I held on to their memory and braced for impact. As the elevator neared to the end of its descent, Garrett's booming voice entered my mind and broke the trance. Wake up, Jack. Jared jarred my eyes open and I fell back laid on the floor. The unique abrasiveness of the carpet brushed against my skin. I was no longer in the elevator. I was transported back to room 371. I noticed the list in my hand. Rule 7 was now circled. The view is a lie, don't trust it. It took me a minute to register, but now I knew what it meant. The view through the window. There was never any fire. It was just another ploy to get me to leave the room, and I foolishly took the bait. My eyes started to the alarm clock. It was 1:47 a.m., meaning it was now safe for me to leave. I need to get the hell out of there and fast. I stood up, marched to the door, and grabbed the knob. It was hot to the touch. Burning them, I pulled my hand back instinctively to avoid the harsh heat. I then noticed how the charred wood on the bottom of the door frame indicating fire. Real fire. But now I thought the view had deceived me. I looked back at the list for answers and noticed a postscript scribbled in pen. You should have followed the rules, Jack. You did this. Now we all have to suffer. My eyes scanned the page for more clues to no avail. They kept landing on rule number 7. In addition to being circled, it was underlined with a striking red ink. Why did my attention need to be drawn there? That's when it hit me. I walked over to the window and peered outside. The fire raged on outside my room, but the world below seemed unaffected. No flames, no firefighters, no one running in and out of the hotel. Just a plain parking lot, traffic on the main road, and trees in the distance. As normal a view as one could hope to expect from this particular vantage point, but the view was a lie. I tried opening the window, but an unseen force closed it shut on my fingers. I lifted the chair at my desk and threw it against the glass. It shattered, revealing the world outside for what it really was. I saw the fire list again, there were no further instructions, nothing at all pertaining to the box. There was only one course of action left to take. I closed my eyes and pressed the button as hard as I could, putting my life in its hands. Memories played in my mind like a film reel, running in reverse. The day's events followed by the previous, and so on and so forth. I relived all the fear and torment in a matter of seconds. Eventually my eyes opened and I found myself in line with Coulter at the front desk waiting to check in. This place isn't too shabby, Jack. Better than the last one at least. I can't explain how, but I was back in the hotel lobby on the first day of the business trip, the day we checked in. Say, Jack, what happened to your hands? I looked down and saw the bruises left by the window. Oh, it's nothing. Slammed them in a car door, that's all. Both of them. I can't explain how, but oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I lost my place. Do you have a reservation, sir? I stared at him for a while, remembering everything that happened. Then I backed away from the counter and turned to leave. Jack, where are you going? Sorry, Coulter. I'm gonna get an Airbnb instead. I'll see you tomorrow. He waved his arms at me, frustrated, then turned back to book his room. The clerk said, Here you are, sir. Room 371